chapter 4, it. This is in reference to Satan again. And God showed me this vision of the violator, Satan. Another term that he calls Satan is dog. And he showed me a scene where he was chained to a pole, running in left directional circles. He has grafted to him this imprinted image of his former self, of his Lucifer self, this beautiful angel. It's like trying to catch up to this fallen angel, now known as Satan, and as a result, if he turns to his right, he'll see, and at times, in his early days, he would see his former self, the angelic form of Lucifer, and it bothered him, and so he now runs in these circles, left directional circles. What God was trying to convey here is how truly, because of his anger and rage, he is so blind, so tunnel vision, and now he's strewn with going around in left directional circles. The rest of his perceived or self-believed weapons was exhausted on the day of Calvary. That in reference to Satan. He knew that he knew and thought he had won because God or Christ had taken all sin upon him on the cross. So if and when a person dies with or in sin, they go down to Satan's realm. If you were atoned of sin pre-Calvary, you did go down, but into a place called Hades, but opposite via this rift, this gulf that separated hell, and what has popularly become known as Abraham's bosom. It's not really referenced in the Bible, but it does refer to that place, not necessarily a name in the Bible. Nowadays, post-Calvary, if someone dies in sin, they still go down, and that would be hell, if you will. Now, down and up is in reference to that and good and evil. It's not truly going up, like towards the sky, or down into the center of the earth. That's in spiritual reference. Wherever hell and heaven may be. Now, heaven actually is right here with us, everywhere in the universe. It's just behind that curtain. But when someone dies post-Calvary now, they automatically go to heaven, because there was many jobs that God had on Calvary. Yes, he was there as a sacrificial lamb to take away all of mankind's sins, as long as they accepted his gift, and they would therefore acquire paradise through the sacrificial lamb, that of Jesus Christ. Also, by taking on the world's sin, God knew he would de-sin, but God, is not of sin, cannot be of sin, therefore sin was not on him when his spirit left. But he knew, because God is not a violator of his own word, when he descended down into the bowels of Hades, he took back from death, who's the gatekeeper, and this scene here, when he's walking towards death, time slowed down and became incremental chunks of time from the viewpoint of death, whilst God was still in regular motion, and it's all because God is one, or hold'em, complete, holy, righteous power. Death is not, and everything like that just cannot move. And as God walked by, casually held his hand out below death's hand, not touching death, and when his hand came under death's hand that was holding the keys, death opened his grip and the keys fell into God's hands. And at that point in time, regular time came up, motion came upon death, and God looked at death and said, "Now go tell your boss who has the keys," that being Satan. And at that point in time, that's when Abraham's bosom, so to speak, was delivered into paradise. And to this day, that chamber across from hell, aka Abraham's bosom, has been empty. It's not no more purpose for it, because now if a person is of God, they no longer have to wait in the waiting room, the atonement room, Abraham's bosom. They, it says to be dead and absent from this world means to be you're present before the Lord. So in regards to the other part of the story, death, when he entered hell, keeping in mind that death has never been inside hell, he's just a gatekeeper for the lost souls, and ushers them into hell, where Satan and the demons are. So when Satan saw death, he's like, "What are you doing in here?" And it hit Satan. Was he here? Yes. And he took the keys. At this point in time, this exact point in time, fear for the first time entered Satan. And all he had left was this immense rage and anger. And so he looked up into heaven towards God and was shaking his fist. "Then I will take with me as many as I can." And this vision, this insight to the violator that God allowed me to see, shows you his demeanor, and it goes back to reiterate and verify the veracity of the one and only enemy that God has ever had, and therefore the only one and true enemy that humankind has ever had, is that of the violator and the violating horde. Period. He don't know. So at this point in time, Satan realized, I have just spent my entire arsenal, a good portion of it, in the Garden of Eden, and this remaining bit at this Calvary thing, and he came to the conclusion that, well, then I will use my lying tongue, and that's all he does nowadays. I know that's all he's ever done, even when he thought he had weapons, but he never did, is his lying tongue. We have the power, through Christ, to keep him at bay. He is powerless unless we give our power unto him. So do not do that, of course. All right. This thing tethered to non-existence. All yokes are meant to be broken. There's only one yoke that is reserved for Judgment Day, and that is when God himself takes care of the violator, the violating horde, the Antichrist, false prophet, death, and hell, and throws them into the bottomless pit. As a show to all of creation, because on Judgment Day, all of creation, the entire universe, the angelic host, the violator, the violating horde, Antichrist, so on and so on, and the believers and non-believers bear witness that God has always told us, do not tie yourself to this. He is nothing. And He shows us in all of creation just that.